Welcome back. Lawmakers are scrambling to avoid a government shutdown by the end of the week, which is looking more and more likely. House Republicans advancing 4 spending bills yesterday. Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he will put a continuing resolution on the floor tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Senate is advancing its own short-term funding bill. They did so yesterday. A number of Republicans said they will not vote for it because of the money going to Ukraine. Joining me right now is Fox News contributor and former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. He is also the author of the book, March to the Majority, among others. Speaker, great to see you. Thanks very much for being here, Newt.
It's good to be with you.
Walk us through this fight, Newt. How do you think this plays out? How do you think this plays out? Government shutdown or a continuing resolution?
I suspect there'll be a government shutdown. I think, look, what the Senate did is easy. They just totally surrendered to Biden. You look at the Senate bill, it reforms nothing, it cuts nothing. It finds money for Ukraine, but no money for the border. I happen to support helping Ukraine, but I don't think we ought to put a priority over the Ukrainian border, over the American border. New York City just announced they're going to spend $1.3 billion hiring 100 different hotels next year just to house illegal immigrants. I think this whole thing is absurd. And I think the House Republicans, as difficult as it is, as hard a time as they're having, they're trying to do what the American people want, which is cut spending to get inflation under control, to bring down the deficit and the size of government. The Senate's doing nothing. I mean, the Senate basically rolls over, gives Biden everything he wants. Frankly, I think we're moving from rhinos to Biden Republicans in a way that's, I think, very harmful to the country, because the American people don't want business as usual. They want spending cuts. They want reforms. We run a project called the America's New Majority Project. The polling data is overwhelming. And the Senate deal doesn't do anything the American people call for.
Yeah, and the fact is that you've got this, open making of the sausage, if you will. We're watching who wants what and who doesn't want what, and as a result, you're getting a lot of division. The Speaker cannot handle any more than 4 or 5 people voting against what he'd like to get through, and now Kevin McCarthy is facing threats to his own leadership. You were the House Speaker. What do you think he should be doing, and how do you see this fight?
Look, I think what he's doing is right. He's doing a better job than I could have, because I'm not nearly as good at listening to everybody every day, all day. And Kevin's very patient. He's very resilient. The fact is, last night was a minor victory for him, but it was a victory. Inch by inch, I think he's getting his colleagues to understand. I hope watching the Senate Republicans fail to do their job will convince the conservatives in the House that the best chance they have of affecting history is to get together as a team, pass something, send it to conference, and firmly stand there and not give Biden and the Senate Republicans the kind of sellout that they want.
Having said that, if we do see a government shutdown, what's the impact? I mean, if it's a short shutdown, is it that big of a deal?
Not to the American people.
Right.
Again, in the America's New Majority Project, which you can see at that website, we just got a poll back that said a substantial majority would rather have spending cuts with a shutdown than spending increases with no shutdown. I mean, a very substantial majority. Remember, when I was Speaker, we shut the government twice, once for 27 days. The result was we became the first re-elected Republican majority since 1928 because people thought we were serious. The American people are in pain. They think Biden is a failure by huge margins. They think that the inflation is the biggest single problem, and they're watching the Senate do nothing. I think they prefer the hard, difficult process of a free society. That's all we're saying. This is freedom and public, and I think we should be grateful that we have a country where people can argue, gradually get to a solution. My hope is that the House Republicans will pass a better bill with more reforms and more cuts, and then stand firm to the White House and the Senate. And if that means the government shuts down, my experience is it's better to shut the government down for a little while and get this thing under control than to keep paying every interest group in Washington and keeping up the inflation rate and the deficit.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, Newt. I mean, look, you've got a situation where you just read that anecdote. You talked about this anecdote where you had the government shut down for 27 days and you still got reelected. People want to see the toughness, that there's an end of the line. We cannot continue to take on all of this spending with $33 trillion in debt.
Look, Washington loves spending. They love your money going into their pocket. They love your money paying off their donors. They love your money paying off their interest groups. The country's not in love with that.
Yeah.
That's why Donald Trump is almost certainly going to be the Republican nominee. The country's trying to send a signal. Get government under control, cut spending, bring down the inflation rate, and get back to economic growth. And I don't sense that the Senate got any of those messages.
Do the candidates on that stage tonight understand this? 7 candidates taking the stage for the second GOP presidential debate. Newt, you said Donald Trump will likely be the candidate. What are you expecting tonight? Is anybody on that stage, do you think, his vice president?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, Cliff and I are going to be watching the debate with great interest. The Reagan Library is an amazing place. I think it's important that they debate. I think it's better for them that they're debating without Trump because he is so dominating. I think that Nikki Haley's had a good run recently. Certainly Vivek Ramaswamy's had a very good run. And it's not impossible for somebody to show up and genuinely compete with Trump. But it's pretty clear that while he's a great governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis is not going to be the alternative in the end. And if he remains in the number 2 slot, a very weak number 2, he's currently 43 points behind Trump, then I don't see how anybody else has a shot. If they can get past him tonight, and Nikki Haley's the most likely to do that, and Ramaswamy's second, you could have a more interesting race by the time you get to Iowa.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Meanwhile, nobody knows how all of these indictments and charges against Donald Trump will play out in the coming year. Is he going to have to go to trial right before or right in the middle of his campaign? And what do you think about the fact that the New York judge charging him with fraud on the same day we learned that Hunter Biden was paid $260,000 from his Chinese partners and the beneficiary address was Joe Biden's home?
Okay, everybody who is concerned with this should read Thomas Wolfe's novel about Bonfire of the Vanities, about New York justice. The fact that in one of the most liberal states in the country, one of the most democratic states in the country, you have a Democratic attorney general and a Democratic judge who both agree that if they can get Donald Trump, they will. Fact is, Donald Trump is rich, was rich, will be rich. And the fact is that I think he's able to go to the country. Remember, the thing about Trump is he's not a candidate. He is the champion of a movement that is sick and tired of corrupt politics, sick and tired of clever judges and clever lawyers, and that regards this as just one more assault on Trump, which would not be happening if he were a liberal Democrat. So my guess is he will survive this as he survived the others. Each time he gets indicted, each time he has a problem, it confirms, by the way, also for African-American males who are now beginning to be for Trump in surprisingly large numbers because they just look at what's happening to him as what's happened to them, and they see the establishment going after him the way they feel the establishment goes after them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fairness issue.
I don't think this affects Trump negatively at all.
Yeah, it's a fairness issue.
Yeah, well,
people just feel like it's just...
It's a general sense. It's also a general sense that this guy's being attacked because he's a real threat. Look what's happening to Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
He can't get on the ballot because the Democrats are afraid of competition. Look what's happening to the people with no labels. They're being attacked by Democrats everywhere about trying to get on the ballot. The Biden Democratic model is if we have no opponent, if there is no serious election, if no one has any choice, we'll get reelected no matter how often we fall and how stupid we are. That their model is to eliminate the opposition, not to win.
Stunning times. It really are. This moment in time is just incredible, and we're honored to be able to watch it and report on it and talk with you about it. Speaker Newt Gingrich, thank you, sir.
Thank you.